Welcome back to the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, England, the center of world time, where we continue our countdown of the 100 most influential people of the past millennium. Heroes and villains, inventors and revolutionaries, the ones who reshaped the planet, who redrew it in their own image. Like number 62 on our list, Walt Disney, a man who brought a lot of happiness to a lot of hearts.
I can't remember 99 and 44 100% of all the movies I saw when I was a little boy. I can't remember any of them. But boy, do I remember Snow White. I still like to see Snow White. I still love to see the Seven Dwarfs. I think they're great.
The young Disney dreamed of being a newspaper cartoonist, and in 1923, he and his brother opened a small animation studio. 5 years later, they introduced the world to Mickey Mouse, a little guy short on fingers, but long on heart.
Walt, we want more fingers. You can't do anything with 4 fingers, Walt.
I tell Walt, I say, look at your characters. They are very accessible, very with the big eyes.
From that tiny mouse, a worldwide media empire was born, and a lovable cast of characters conquered the globe.
He brought families together. He brought countries together. He basically broke through all the social and moral and political language barriers, and Walt Disney is as famous as Coca-Cola.
He was the son of a blacksmith, but Michael Faraday laid the foundation for the age of electricity. It all began with this primitive motor.
Something with some magnets and then some, a wheel and a couple of wires, and the thing would simply turn as long as you applied current to it.
Now electricity does the chores for the farmer's wife.
Faraday also figured out how to send electric power over distance via the generator and the transformer. Without him, we'd have no electric appliances, no mixers or toasters. And here's a frightening thought: no television.
We face the future with confidence and with courage. We are American.
When you look at American political leaders of the century, one person stands out so far above the others that it's not even close, and that's Franklin Roosevelt.
At age 39, he was struck down by polio. Yet his determination and compassion would guide our nation through 2 of its greatest crises. The only man ever elected president 4 times, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, number 60 on our list. In 1933, he set in motion the New Deal, massive programs to restore jobs and pull the country out of the Great Depression. And then his nation faced an even greater challenge, World War II.
We are going to win this war, and we are going to win the peace that follows.
Roosevelt led us through both the greatest war in history and the domestic crisis, and also left behind a legacy of ideas embodied in his greatest speeches, which live on to this day.
Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
He's been called the most influential thinker of modern times. German philosopher Immanuel Kant. Kant believed that we all possess a sense of right and wrong, a moral framework that should guide our lives. He called it the categorical imperative. His theories influenced Karl Marx. Yet in practice, communist regimes were repressive, and many believe the very antithesis of Kant's philosophy. A peasant girl who heard divine voices. Joan of Arc, number 58, patron saint of France. She led her country into combat against the English when she was only a teenager. But while she won the battle, she lost her life. when she was accused of heresy and burned at the stake. Later, Joan of Arc would be canonized. Today, she's still an international symbol of faith and freedom. Another teenager who got the world all shook up is Elvis Presley, number 57, the king of rock and roll. From the age of 13, Elvis began to soak up the music that would make him a star: gospel, country, rhythm and blues.
He was the guy who really brought black music into the white vocabulary. He was the first white boy who really could sing like a black man and was popular.
Elvis was discovered while recording birthday songs for his mother. Soon he became a nationwide sensation with movies, TV shows, and sold-out concerts, all featuring the good old boy with the smoldering eyes and the live wire hips.
Elvis had this kind of magic combination of looks and voice. I mean, you cannot discount what a good-looking young man he was.
With his smile and his snarl, Elvis brought rock and roll into the mainstream and changed pop culture itself.
I think I have on something tonight that's not quite correct for evening wear.
Not quite formal? What's that, Elvis?
Blue suede shoes.
Oh, yeah!
A generation of teenage rebels followed his lead, making him not just a musician, but an idol. Some even consider him immortal. No wonder people still see him all over the world.
History isn't made by a few people, it's made by a lot of people. But without thousands, millions of people acting with the courage of Stanton, we would still today be objects, not people.
Elizabeth Cady Stanton was the first lady of American feminism, number 56 on our list. She made her mark organizing the first women's rights convention at Seneca Falls, New York in 1848, for which she wrote a rousing manifesto.
That document came to the conclusion that women should not be excluded from those glorious words of the Declaration and the Constitution, and believed that they had those inalienable rights that men had.
Stanton soon joined forces with Susan B. Anthony. Together, they crusaded for women's causes. Stanton died in 1902, years before women were granted the right to vote, but with the knowledge that she had changed the relationship between men and women forever. He set sail in 1519 looking for trade routes. What he found was a whole new world. This man, Portugal's Ferdinand Magellan. He led his fleet down the east coast of South America and discovered a passageway to the Pacific Ocean, the strait that still bears his name. Magellan died before his fleet struggled back to Spain, but his expedition achieved something unprecedented, the first journey around the Earth.
What it did is it really, I think, gave us a global context of our planet.
And Magellan's trip did one more very important thing. It proved that the world is round.
I think John F. Kennedy should be on this list because he averted nuclear war by deciding that we would not bomb Cuba during the Cuban Missile Crisis.